There was once a nice kingdom in a beautiful forest, and there was a rascal who went around and he would buy someone's sheep, and he would tell them they're not really worth a lot, and he'd buy a lot of them, and then he'd sell them to everybody because they were actually worth quite a bit. And he would go around, he'd buy the bananas for $1 and sell them for 10, and pretty soon he had scammed a lot of people that way. So they hired a wizard, and the wizard, he always knew what things were worth. And so he was very useful because that way people never got cheated. And so, of course, since the wizard was so good at telling people what things were worth, they gave him some money for telling people what things were worth. And eventually, he needed more money because the kingdom grew and grew and grew, and he needed to tell more and more people very precisely how much things were worth. So they built him a castle, and they chopped down some of the trees to put heat into the castle. And eventually the kingdom grew into a big city, and they had to chop down the whole forest, and there's a big computer in the castle that would make predictions about the value of everything. And eventually the forest was gone, and the people weren't so happy, and the wizard lived in a giant castle, and he had almost everything. And because he was so good at predicting what things were worth, the other people didn't really get anything because they had to pay the wizard almost all their money so he could keep making predictions.